unbalanced. For centuries, humans were at the pinnacle among all creation, until a strange occurrence of a new gene structure changed everything. This new genetic makeup was far superior to that of humans, giving birth to an entirely different species we call chimios. A minor enhancement to strength, endurance, and regeneration are all simply complementary assets of a chimio's DNA. 1/3 of the world population is said to be chimio, but if that was not terrifying enough, they also develop special abilities, recognized as talents. Most talents, however, are predominantly harmless. The ability to manipulate a simple element, or control over the internal structure, creating and manipulating extensions of one's body. In rare cases, to change the entire cellular makeup of one's body at will, and a vast variety of other mutations. But not all talents are harmless. The great power of the few elite chimios causes many humans to tremble in fear of their possible extinction, as their power may result in the ultimate decimation of the human race. In the town port of Spain, location, Trinidad and Tobago, with a full moon and tall buildings, a man wearing glasses and speaking into a microphone said, "Ladies and gents, we are now on our 13th fight of the night. But I know you guys are not tired because we don't get tired in here. I am Payne's Battlegrounds, the best legal mixed martial arts tournament money can buy." Next up, for his third fight of the night, newcomer, the human titan from Red Ember Gym. The commentator enthusiastically screamed the protagonist's name, Che Hart, and his opponent, the deadly sharp chimio with 15 wins and 4 losses from Salt Lake Gym. He enthusiastically screamed the opponent's name, Quill. Quill had a mischievous grin on his face. We see the opponents and the referee on the ring. The commentator enthusiastically said, "Che versus Quill. Human versus chimio. I expect blood, people. We usually don't have much of these fights for medical reasons. But don't count the human out yet. His 3 wins looked promising. Am I right?" The commentator asked the audience. Quill said, with a mischievous grin, "A human?" Hart thought to himself, "A 15-win career? What's your special trick?" The commentator announced the start of the match with a roaring fight. With a smile on his face, Quill said, "Once you step into this octagon, there's no room for pity." Smiling, he said, "So, why don't you come close, Hart?" Porcupine spikes were coming out of his body, and we were told that his special talent is porcupine, which through a measure of elasticity in his muscle fibers, he can extend them as protruding barbs by flexing, then harden the skin which covers these muscle spikes, making sharp quills. The fight started, the commentator screamed, "Oh, they're going at it." Quill threw a punch at Hart. Hart dodged and said that he would not like to be at the receiving end of a chimio punch. Quill threw a kick at Hart with spikes formed at his back. Hart blocked with his arms. Then the commentator said, "Mothers and grandmothers, now is the time to look away." Spreading his arms and smiling menacingly, Quill said, "Come on, Hart, show me something. You sure did turtle up with all that defending." Hart told Quill, "You're covered in spikes. Who's going to attack a defense like that? You're the one turtled up." Spreading his arms and smiling, Quill said, "Here, what? I'll give you a free shot. Come on, no quills this time." Attacking, Hart said to himself, "This is clearly a bait. But perhaps I can slip through." Hart dodged Quill's punch and slipped to the side. He saw a clear opening and he prepared to strike. Quill said with a mocking grin, "TCH. Is that all, Hart?" Bringing out spikes from his body which pierced Hart's face a little. Hart was bleeding. Crouching, Hart said, "You cheeky bastard." In reply, Quill mockingly told Hart to get back on his feet. Smiling, Hart said to himself, "So he can choose the exact spot to quill at will. A really solid defense when facing a human challenger. However, the fact that you are not permanently in a fully quilled state means one thing. You can't hold your quills for long, can you? I'd say 30 to 60 seconds tops." Smiling with his eyes wide open and a spike coming out of his cheek, Quill said, "Not bad. You figured me out. Flexing for too long causes cramps, you know. I'd make it easier for you. I can only quill one area at a time." So come on, try me again. Crouching and placing his hand on the ground, Hart said, try you again. You're baiting me for the second time, aren't you? With a wild smile on his face, Hart replied, saying, okay then, I'll bite. The commentator, screaming, said, yo yo, she's doing some crazy footwork there. Hart, moving with great speed, thought to himself, where will you spike now? Jumping, Hart threw a punch that landed solidly on Quill's jaw. Shocked by the sudden hit, the commentator, screaming, said the human landed his first hit. Quill, shocked, said to himself, what? You're being sloppy, Quill. He's smart enough to make his punches taps. He knows if he delays the draw back, he'd get stabbed. Landing, Hart immediately threw a spinning kick towards Quill. Just before the kick was able to land, Quill said to himself, what a fool. Smiling menacingly with his tongue out, Quill said, huh, a jump attack? Perfect. Encounter, Quill crossed spiky arms, saying aloud, you can't alter your trajectory mid-air. This is the end of the line for you, Hart. And then he said, my win. Quill was surprised when Hart suddenly drew his foot back and landed. Crouching, he then prepared an attack that landed solidly on Quill's belly, which made him spit out in pain. Wearing a shocked expression, Quill said, impossible. Immediately, Hart prepared another attack. Quill, being aware and prepared for the coming attack, said, oh no, Mr. Hart, I won't be letting that happen. Again, widely opening his mouth and eyes, Quill brought out spikes from his face and screamed, try it. Smirking, Hart knew Quill had taken the bait. Then he threw a heavy right-hand punch right into Quill's belly, making him utterly shocked, immediately grabbing Hart's arm that was still on his belly. He brought out spikes from his belly, piercing Hart's arm, saying, I won't lose. And then he screamed, get quilled, human. Hart, knowing the bait worked, smiled with one eye shut and said, baited. You can't spike two places at once. That jaw is wide open. Landing a punch to his jaw, Quill fell while extremely bleeding. 1 hour later, Che was wiping blood off his face with a napkin. He squeezed the napkin on the sink. The commentator in the background said our previous fight, Human versus Kimio, was insane. Che popped right. Che was looking at his reflection on the mirror, and he said to himself, what a beautiful day to see all that blood. Two guys walked into Che's changing room and called Che's name. He glanced sideways. The interlocutors told Che that he messed up, and he's going to stop beating around the bush and get straight to the point. He said they bet a lot of money on Che losing tonight, so the fact he won is a major problem for him. He continued by saying, it's simple, you give us back every cent you made tonight, and we will let you lick your wounds. The other guy continued by telling Che not to try to be a hero, because he's clearly a mess after what Quill did to him. Closing his eyes, Che told them to close the door before we start. The guys brought out a knife and said, very well, your funeral, big man. We see the full moon shining brightly. Che walked up to the receptionist and said, hey, Demalia. She looked up at him and told him, hey, Che, good to see you as always. You were amazing tonight, and he shouldn't worry about the scratches. It makes him even hotter. Che told her thanks. Then she asked him if he was going to come to the after completion party held only once every month, that he has never shown up to any. Che told her that he's sorry he can't attend cause he has a couple of things to do at home. She then gave him his tonight winnings and told him that if he's ever cold, he knows where to find her. Took the money, and about leaving, he told her to tell the admin that there are 2 injured fellas in his changing room, and he had no idea what happened there. Later that night, Che got home and immersed himself in his bathtub while saying the word pain. It lets us know we are alive. He raised his arm and pressed on his shoulder, saying, but the reason I endured this pain better not be in vain. The following morning, a man stood beside a car in front of Che's house. We learned that his name is Tevin. His girlfriend said that I'm telling you, Tevin, he's got some woman in there. He's never on time. Smirking, Tevin told her that he doesn't think any woman can stand Che for more than a day. Che walked out carrying a red bag, and smiling, he told Tevin to please speak louder. It's not as if it's 6 in the morning. Tevin told Che that they've known each other for 15 years, and it's been 7 years since he had this apartment, and none of them has ever seen the inside. He asked if Che sells drugs cause his grandma needs Advil. Then he told Che to get his, but in the car, so they won't be late. They arrive at their destination. Che and Tevin got out of the car. Then Tevin thanked his girlfriend for the ride. and she told him to be back at 4. Che was looking at a building with the name Red Ember Gym, and he said, "This is our dojo." Entering into the dojo, we see a man with green lightning surrounding his body about to land a kick on a feet gray-haired man. And we learned that his name is Azam. Che said that he and his dojo mates don't come from the nicest homes. We see a man with gray beard wearing a cap, and Che explained that the old man is his master, Leo Thomas. He happens to be a war hero. The danger to human life that Kimio's presented caused a war 61 years ago between human and Kimio, and more innocent people died than anyone wants to admit. Master Leo dodges Azam kick, and Azam places his bandaged foot on the ground preparing for another strike. Che says Master Leo is like a father to them all. Azam threw a kick at Master Leo. He dodged and blocked by raising his leg up. Che continued by saying he couldn't have asked for a better teacher, that he treats them like his own sons. Azam took a running pose, and he closed the distance in a flash. Standing, Master Lee told him that if his talent is speed, being predictable would only mean one thing. Azam was about to land a blow on Master Lee. His fist and eyes were emanating a green glow. Master Leo glanced sideways and tells Azam, "You're using it entirely wrong." Master Leo caught his fist with his palm. Azam was shocked. He looked at Azam with a menacing gaze. He prepared to strike and landed several consecutive blows with great speed. Azam gritted his teeth in pain, preparing a palm strike. Master Leo said that your talents are all one of a kind, specifically coded to your individual personality. He struck Azam's chest with his palm and said, "If you fail to maximize these unique differences of yours." Azam was aggravated. He continued by saying the gift that makes you one of a kind. He grabbed Azam's arm and tossed him over his head. He then said, "You will become as common as a human fighter." He spinned Azam while saying, "You must use what you have," flipping Azam and taking a striking pose. Then he said, "Or lose it." We see Azam's shocked eye. He gave Azam a devastating kick, which sent him flying. Tevin told Che that after Master sees his broken face, it'll be so funny to watch him kick your ass for fighting. Che replied by saying, "Whatever, Tevin, your girl drives you around, you man-child." Master Leo told Azam not to opt out just yet and fight one more time. He replied saying, "Yes, Master." Che and Tevin went to sit with the 4th and 5th brother. The 5th brother tells them that Azam decided to go first. Then the 4th brother said in pity of Azam, poor kid had a bright future ahead of him. He then tells Che that Master mentioned something about having a bone to pick with him when he gets here, and by the look on your face, I hope you've signed the waiver. Azam flew backwards and landed on his back. Then Master Leo tells him that's enough for now. He should rest, and they'll work on his attack tactics later. Master Leo looks at his students and calls Che. He furiously told him to come here. Che was frightened and sweating profusely. Tevin mockingly told him, "I can't save you, man. I'm a man-child." Che walked up to Master Lee with his hand at the back of his head while avoiding eye contact. He told Master Leo good morning, glaring at him. Furiously, Master Leo called him a fool. Che was sweating profusely with a bandage on his cheek. And then he says, "You've done it again, Che. Fighting behind my back after I forbade it." He tells Che that he's a human and what happens when you're forced to fight a Kimio who exceeds your skill. Che guiltily looks sideways. Master Leo continued by saying, "What then? Look at your wounds." He said that he won't loose another son. He smacked Che's cheeks so hard that his soul left his body for a moment. Che held his cheek and sobbed. Master Leo mockingly asks him, "Aren't you an underground fighter? Why isn't your guard up?" Che sat up holding his cheek, and Master Leo sighed and said, "Let's begin with." But before he was able to finish speaking, they heard a clap. That drew all their attentions. We see the shoes of 2 men. He then told Master Leo, why is he being so serious? Master Leo glared at him with a menacing gaze. We see the man's full image, and he asks Master Leo if he never expected to see him again. We then learnt that his name is Rokash Rampersad, and he's a big thing in Trinidad. He was recently placed in the top 150 ranking of the world's strongest Kimios documented. Being stupid, it went straight to his head, and his arrogance made him the most hated man in the country. Smiling mischievously, he says, "Sup, fellas." While Master Leo was still staring at Rokash with a furious gaze, Che, being clueless, asked who's Rokash. Tevin then asked Master Leo if he knows this fool, that no one is allowed in the dojo during training sessions. he clearly couldn't read the sign. He may be illiterate. We see a full image of Master Leo and his students. He then tells Rokash that he's not welcome here. Rokash, being aggravated, says that's no way to greet your favorite past student teacher. Che, wearing a shocked expression, said to himself, "Teacher," Tevin furiously screamed to Rokash if he's deaf, and he didn't hear Master Leo telling him to get out. In retaliation, Rokash's cousin mockingly tells Tevin to shut up. The fourth brother angrily asked, "What did you say, boy?" Smiling, Rokash asked, "For a sparring match." With his head lowered, Master Leo tells Rokash he still hasn't changed. Burning with rage, he yells Rokash's name. Bursting with a flamey aura, he screamed, "Enough of this!" Gritting his teeth and closing one of his eyes, Che was surprised and said, "Master." Rokash and his gang looked in awe. Turning his back with flames still on his body, Master Leo tells Rokash that this is no longer his home, and he should leave at once. Closing his eyes and turning, Rokash said it's been 25 years since he stepped foot in this dojo. He tells Master Leo that he speaks as if he's at the pinnacle of Kimio power. Turning his back, he said, "Yet you have no idea what true strength is." Standing still, he tells Master Leo that he'll have to acknowledge his strength before he dies. Glaring sideways at he says, "And that day might come sooner than you think." Later that same evening, we see Che with a brush. Brushing the dirt, he looks sideways and sees Master Leo carrying garbages. Turning backwards, he asked if his master is all right. And who the hell is Rokash to threaten him like that? And also what happened between him and Rokash, still carrying garbage on his back, Master Leo sighs, and says he was an old student of mine many years ago. His arrogance kept him from ever truly progressing. But the scary truth is he was one of my strongest. Dropping the dirt and explaining, he said the dojo was small back then, and 4 guys were all we had. Rokash was so adamant on proving his strength that he constantly challenged the others. Then he said, "You see, besides his vanity, Rokash's problem was that he never understood the seriousness that goes with a fight. The animalistic side of his talent would emerge, and he'd begin jesting and grinning. One day, behind my back, he challenged a young man named Jacob, one of the better Kimios in the class. And from the get-go, I didn't know what he was trying to prove, but he killed Jacob. We see a picture of Jacob Kim Lee." Master Leo said, although there was a big investigation and all that, he left the dojo after he was cleared. They called it unintentional homicide, and since then he hasn't been back. Che was surprised and said, "Wow, he got away with it." Then he enthusiastically said, "I'll kick his ass if he shows up here again." Wearing a smug grin, Master Leo said mockingly, "I'll look at my human boy making threats." Smiling, Che said, "Whatever, old man." After that, Che went to the hospital. He was sitting on a hospital bed when the doctor walked in and said, "Oh, Mr. Hart, glad to see you're still in one piece." Che replied by asking the doctor how he's been. The doctor replied saying work has gotten a little hectic these days, the average bar fight. But with Kimios, and God has been really good to me regardless. So, no complaints here. Smiling, the doctor told Che that his daughter, Juliana, will be having her 6th child. With a surprised look on Che's face, he said, "Wow, your daughter is a superhero." Back to business, the doc told Che, "I got you topped up on all your prescriptions. I also added a new drug called amoxicillin. This bad boy should help with the internal bleeding. 1 a day, as per usual." Looking at Che with worry in his eyes, the doc asked if he's had any improvements on his left eye. Lowering his gaze and covering his left eye with his hands, Che said, "Still a bit dim, doc. I would say I can only see at 60% capacity." Taking off his glasses, the doc said, "Che, as a doctor and a father, please consider my advice." Continuing, he said, "I could do my best to ensure you are topped up on all your required medication, but I cannot make you stop what you do on your own time. Your body is tougher than the average human. Yes, I'm assuming that would be thanks to Leo Thomas training. But you are still lucky to be alive." He continued by saying, "You can't hide this from your friends and family forever. The pain and discomfort will reveal itself whether willingly or not. Your lab results are still the same. A punctured lung, which has still not been given the time to repair itself. Fractures to both clavicles and a bruised shoulder socket. Severe tissue and muscle scarring. Severe tissue and muscle scarring, followed by nerve damage to the right hand. Damage to the left optic nerves, a chipped rib, and 7 ankle screws. And the internal bleeding still has not subsided. Sighing and wearing a worried look on his face, the doc asked Che if the Fight Club money is really worth it. Your body is at a breaking point, young man. You keep pushing it way too far. He continues by telling Che your whole life is before you. I am worried that you're shaving off more and more of that time daily. Che, with a little smile on his face, told the doc, I really do appreciate your concern for me, but I still got some fire left in me. Besides, the money is going to a very good cause. Smiling wholeheartedly, Che told the doc, you said it yourself. I'm tough for a human. Sighing with relief, the doc said, very well, Mr. Hart. They stood up and shook hands, and then he told Che to tell him if he needs anything at all. Smiling, Che thanked the doctor. Che complimented the doc by saying he looks pretty healthy and that his wife must still have him doing that yoga. Pushing up his glasses with his fingers, the doc said, nah. I have chosen a far more manly exercise for myself. He took a karate pose, and Che clapped enthusiastically. Then the doc said, take care of yourself, Mr. Hart, and you'll grow old and live as happy as I am. Later that night, Master Leo was sitting on the ground and reading the Bible. When a hand suddenly opened his door, he sighed, already being aware of who's coming in. The door creaked open, and we see Rokash and his cousins. Master Lee said to him, you still haven't changed. Rokash walked in. He stood and at Master Leo with a predatory gaze. Che and Tevin were speaking on the phone. With a worried look on his face, Che told Tevin he felt so bad leaving Master to close the dojo himself, that Rokash threatened him. Tevin's girlfriend was laying on him. He told Che not to worry, that Rokash is a rich idiot, but he's not stupid to try killing the man who made him who he is. With his back turned, Che replied, yeah, I guess you're right, I'll go check on Master first thing in the morning. Then Tevin told Che to relax, that he knows Master is like a father to him, but he shouldn't stress, that Master will be all right. Smiling with his eyes shut, he told Che, now, can I please go? Or you will encourage the wrath of the beast on my chest. Opening her eyes, Tevin's girlfriend told Che good night, that she'll be taking her man now. We see an explosion in the Red Ember Gym. Flame surrounded the building. Master Leo was standing while Rokash kneeling some meters away from him. We see Master Leo bleeding from his belly, and he says he hates being old. Looking sideways, he says, am I really too weak to avoid a firearm now? We see Rokash cousin. He was holding the gun he used to shoot Master Leo. He had a frightened expression. Looking back, Rokash called him a fool and asked where he got a gun. He said, I told you he was mine to finish, and you won't deprive me of it. Still wearing a frightened expression, his cousin said, Uncle, I just thought, but just as he was about to finish speaking, Rokash yelled at him to look out. Before he could realize, Master Leo was already in front of him using the skill Phoenix spear. He had a surprised expression. Master Leo struck him on his belly, and he flew to the wall. The gun fell on the ground. Master Leo looked back at Rokash while being covered in flames, and with a fiery gaze, he told Rokash, if this is how you raise your nephew, if he can even begin to comprehend responsibility. We see Rokash with a blue-like tattoo on his chest. Gritting his teeth, Rokash stood up, opening his mouth and shouting furiously. He told Master Lee that he talks of responsibility, yet he himself doesn't understand it. That he refuses to acknowledge his power even after he put this failed dojo on the map. He also said, this dojo has never housed a stronger student, that Jacob was nowhere near his progress. He told Master Leo that if Jacob knew he couldn't handle him, he never should have accepted the challenge. Glaring furiously at Rokash, Master Leo told him that he should not speak Jacob's name again. Then he screamed the name Rokash, and he sighed, then said, this wound will kill me. That Rokash succeeded in fostering a depraved mind in his nephew. Master Leo then told him, with all that I've tried with you, not only as a student, but also as a son, but somehow you seem to have surpassed the point of reasoning. With a burning hair, beard, and burning gaze, he declared, this night I will address my mistakes. Prepared for the fight, Rokash told Master Lee to come on old man. Attacking, Master Lee was surrounded by flames, and we learnt that his talent is Elio's the Phoenix Flame. It is a talent where the user enters the Elio's state. It's also called Sunfire talent, being one of the original 4 great talents, and Master Lee its only wielder. He then attacks Rokash with his knee, and Rokash raised his arm to block. He was aggravated. Master Li smacked Rokash's cheek with flame in his palm. In retaliation, Rokash launches a counter. Master Li ducked and moved to the side. He straightened his palm and clenched it, then landed a solid blow on Rokash's rib. He spat out blood. Master Li grabbed him by the back of his shirt. He threw him up and then gathered a Leo's on his feet and prepared to jump. We see Rokash's shocked expression, and then he thought to himself, an aerial attack. Master Li ascended with great speed. He passed by Rokash, leaving flame traces, and Rokash said he won't even allow me to activate my talent. He used the wall as a leverage for more force. He turned and approached Rokash, and Rokash said to himself that he is completely frozen. He immediately closed the distance and used a flame palm strike on Rokash. He gritted his teeth in pain. Master Li looked at him with a menacing gaze, then activated his special skill, Ilio's descending meteor. He climbed on Rokash's chest and used his body as a landing bag. Rokash was engulfed in flames. Master Li took a step. He was aggravated. He placed his hand close to his bleeding wound and said to himself, I guess I'm too old to heal a wound like this. Rokash was getting on his feet. Master Li said to him, You knew my strength would deteriorate with my age. Congratulations, you have placed me seconds away from my death. But as for you, Rokash, he closed the distance in a flash and continued by saying, As I perish, I will make sure you live the rest of your days maimed. He stretched his arm out for an attack, aiming for his Rokash's eye. He got close to his eye. Then he plucked out his left eye. Rokash was screaming in pain. Exhausted Master Leo fell on his knees while holding Rokash's eyeball with his bloody hand. Cass screamed, Uncle. Then he went to help him up. He tried raising him up while saying the building is already caving in on itself. We gotta move now. Furious Rokash yelled at Master Leo, saying, Damn you, Leo, this is your goddamn grave. Master Leo fell to his knees amidst the flames. Blood was gushing out of his mouth and his life was fading away. With his last strength, he said the protagonist named Che. The building was burning and smoking heavily. The next day, we see Che wearing a black suit and standing under the rain with his back turned. There were people carrying black umbrellas and wearing black suits. We see Master Leo Thomas coffin, and then the eulogist began his speech by saying, Dearly beloved, we gather here today to mourn the death of Leo Thomas. He was a great man and a friend to me. He asked for this small gathering in the event of his passing. He made a name for himself through his extraordinary abilities, even though he refused to acknowledge his own fame. Irrespective of that fame, it was his kindness and heart of compassion that stood out to all those who knew him. He ended his speech by saying, In this world perspective, Leo was a flame of power, but we as friends hold him as the true beauty in love. Azam said to Che, We know Rokash did this, and we all want revenge. Sitting here on our asses solves nothing. Then the fourth brother said that he was looking around and found out Rokash is having a tournament next month to celebrate his placing in the top 150 globally. The winner gets to take him on, 1 versus 1. That's his sick idea of a prize. They all said they want Che to represent our gym, the Red Embers, that only 2 combatants can enter per establishment. Che replied, saying what sense does it make when he's the only one amongst them without a talent? Tevin tells him that they don't care about that, nor is it a meaningless proposition. Tevin told Che, being human has never limited you. Master always acknowledged you as the brightest when it comes to combat among us. And you won't be alone. I'll be at your side. Glaring furiously, Che said, Very well then. Since we agree on the same target, when do we start? A man was holding the arm of a chair. It turned out to be Rokash. For months later, Che and his brothers entered a building, and they were told, Welcome to the Rokash Enterprise Combat Stadium. Azam said to his brothers that there are a lot of people. Everyone loves to watch a fight. Continuing, he told Che and Tevin that he already booked a changing room for both of them, and all they got to do is sign the registry, and they're in. He says that day 1 of the event's going to have a lot of heavy hitters facing off first to rank up views. He then tells Tevin that he's fight number 7 and Che's number 8. Tevin closed his eyes and was sweating profusely. His girlfriend glared at him and called his full name Tevin Matthias Charles. She orders him to be careful. Through the television, the reporter said today, we take a look at the host of the Central Human and Kimyo Mixed Martial Arts Tournament. He shouted the name Rokash Rampersad. The guy's face all became furious when they heard his name. The reporter continued by saying, the local Kimyo sensation. The man himself, Trinidad and Tobago's first Kimyo to be placed in the world's top strongest fighters. Rokash's picture was shown on the television. The reporter continued by calling Rokash the now 61-year-old millionaire who's nothing short of prodigy, minus the questionable past incident with the police, that Rokash has amassed for himself a reliable fortune and fame. From 47 wins and 3 losses in his MMA career, he said Rokash has obtained 8 properties around the world over the span of 37 years. A different picture of Rokash is shown on the screen. He continued by saying Rokash also owns his own hotel, the Rampersad Tower, several pro racing endorsements, and his own clothing line. He then says Rokash is their wonder kid. He announced that we also share our deepest sympathy to Mr. Rampersad, who died 4 months ago. Master Leo Thomas' picture is shown on the screen. And he said that the nation was forced to mourn the pain of his death, of Rokash's former teacher, legend, and a war hero. Leo Thomas. Che was aggravated, with vein bulging out of his neck. He says if only the people knew what that disgusting bastard, Rokash, did. The reporter finished announced that martial arts competitions have been reimagined through the integration of Kimyo competitors. And Rokash Rampersad spares no expense when hosting MMA competitions in his homeland of Trinidad and Tobago, creating an avenue for local talents to be discovered. The reporter talked about the fact that Rokash's recent combat scar makes him more intimidating than before. We see Rokash with 3 scars on his right eyes. Che then furiously said that we're moving now. He's heard enough. They get into the changing room. Che and Tevin were sitting, while the rest were standing in front of them. Then Che asked, so what's the plan? The 5th brother replied, don't die on your first fight, that this being a brutal context tournament means opponents are allowed to kill each other to instantly win a round. Tevin then says Stups, Master would kill us for entering into this tournament, that he didn't even tell his girl this was BC rated, and then he says anyway guess I'm first. We see the audience in the ring. The referee was at the middle of the ring holding a microphone. Speaking into the microphone, he says, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our 4th match of the night. Tevin gets on the ring. His girlfriend enthusiastically said, good luck, babe. The referee introduces him as Tevin from the east. The opponent was coming out from the other side of the ring. His eyes were closed, and the referee announced his opponent as Sunraz the Untouched. Folding his arm and raising one to his face, he glared at Tevin. Then the referee introduced Sunraz as a Kimyo whose speed is unparalleled, and as a result Sun has never been injured in his career. Tevin said with a mischievous grin on his face, I like the matchup of a speedster versus a tank. Sun closed his eyes and sighed. Spreading his arms, Tevin told Sun that, I know you, man. You're one of the fastest Kimyo, right? He introduced himself by saying, well, and one of the toughest. Must be honest, it takes a lot to move me, but let's have a chill fight, just as he was about to finish speaking. Sun appeared next to him, about to land a kick on his face. We switch scene to Mr. Rokash. A man with a blonde hair asked him if there's anything he can do for him. Rokash just lowered his gaze and stared at the screen while rubbing a finger on his temples. The kicks lands on Tevin and sends him flying, glaring at Tevin with a predatory gaze. Sun told him to listen closely, that all have failed and try to lay a finger on him, and Tevin shall be no exception. We now learn that his talent is Image Fusion Threshold, a speed talent master. Tevin was aggravated. He jumped and threw a punch at Sun, which he dodged and landed a knee strike on Tevin's belly. Wearing a shocked expression, Tevin said to himself, you gotta be kidding me. He was aggravated. Tevin stood in the middle of Sun's duplicates. Azam said that he has heard of Sun Raz the Untouched, and as a fellow speed talent user, this skill is called Image Fusion Threshold. He explained by saying the vortex created by Sun's movement provides his after images enough time to materialize, creating duplicates of himself. Saying aloud, Che told Tevin to get his defense up, that he's a breathing tank. Tevin, in the middle of a duplicated attack, replies by saying, Damn it, I'm trying. Tevin, being aggravated, said to himself, I can take it. Sun's fist was about to land on him, and he said to himself again more. He says more again and again. White-like veins were forming in his arm. His muscles were ripping off his shirt, and he said, don't you dare. His eyes turned yellow, and he yells, don't underestimate us. A vortex formed on where Tevin was, and electric charges burst out of his body. Sun was surprised. Tevin finished transforming, and we learned that his talent is Hide Force, the ability to create a protective shell that increases defensive and offensive capabilities. Sun was perplexed. Electric discharges surrounded Tevin's hand. He threw a punch at Sun. He dodged. Crouching, Sun said to himself, what kind of talent is this? The referee enthusiastically said, Tevin reveals his talent after being pushed to a corner, the elusive rhino hide making its appearance. Sun immediately distanced himself from Tevin. The referee continues by saying that with this talent type, a self-regenerative shell encases its user as a protective skin or hide, which grants the user a range of increased attributes or special related strength. Tevin said to Sunraz, this hide makes me far tougher. Sunraz was running in circles with Tevin in the middle. He and his duplicates went on the attack. Tevin said to himself that there's no way he can outmatch Sun's speed. Perhaps he can wear him out. Sun closed the distance in a flash. He sent a knee towards Tevin. It hit Tevin. He was shocked that Sun's strikes were going through his armor. Yelling furiously, Che told him, he's taking too many hits. He should find his weakness as Master taught them. We see a picture of Master Leo. He said talents are simply smoldering flames within a person. They can either be nurtured or extinguished. Flames have enemies, as well as they have kindling. Sometimes, a talent's greatest strength, from a reversed angle, can also be its biggest downfall. This obscure spark is known as the blind spot of talents. Tevin wanted to attack, but Sun was too fast. He said to himself, too fast, damn it. Think, 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 think. Sun's foot touched the ground. Then Tevin got an idea, and he said the ground. Smiling furiously, with a menacing gaze, Sun advanced to attack. Smiling, Tevin said, come then. Raising his foot, he continued by saying, and come at the same speed. Tevin smashed the ground with great force. He destroyed the ground, which made Sun unbalanced. He screamed, no. The referee enthusiastically screamed, Tevin has turned this match in his favor. We see Sun's shocked face, and Tevin said, you may have been granted speed. Preparing a devastating blow, he continued by saying, but I was granted power. The blow landed on Sun's belly. We see his shocked eye. He was sent flying. Everyone was shocked. Even Rokash was not spared. Sun landed on the ring protective barrier, and the referee screamed, incredible. Is Tevin testing the strength of our protective barrier? He continued by saying, what a shot. Sun is unconscious, grinning and deactivating his talent. Tevin said, that's for the cheap shot. Sun was carried out in a stretcher. Tevin's girlfriend ran up to hug him with tears in her eyes. Azam happily said, let's go. Tevin then asked Louise where Che is. We see a picture of Che next to Master Leo. Louise replied saying, he's next, so he went to prepare himself. The whole plan is simply to expose Rokash. We see Che's furious eyes. Louise continued by saying that he's afraid to see Che's reaction when he sees Rokash face to face. The audience cheered enthusiastically. Screaming enthusiastically, the referee said, and next, our following fight, Kiart versus Nanako. They were paired based on their previous tournament scores over their careers. Representing their respective gyms, they have both made names for themselves. We see Che, and the referee introduces him as the human fighter Che. Yes, I said human. His combat wisdom is reflected in his skill. We see a man coming out of the other side of the ring. The referee enthusiastically screamed, and, ladies and gentlemen, the mutant fighter, Nanaku. His gym only participates in brutal context tournaments. That speaks volumes. Che was displeased. Nanaku said that he's so pissed because they disgraced him by having fight him a human in the tournament where showcases his talent. with a mischievous grin on his face. He calls Che a damn boy with no talent. Licking his lips, he said, "No matter. After you die, human, I'll simply move on to the next fight." But this is only the beginning. The real battle hasn't even started yet. If you want to see what happens next, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next part.